Probably a lot of you guys know that on October 3rd in the Minecraft Live, the Caves and Cliffs update was finally announced and confirmed. They've shown some great pictures of what we can expect from the update, and alongside with that they have shown a ton of other stuff they will put into the game. First things first, let's start with the mob vote, and as you can see, the glow squid won by roughly 5%. I personally like the isologer more and think the glow squid is pretty useless, but it is what it is and people voted for it and people wanted it, so the next mob will be the glow squid. So let's continue with the actual update and start with Lush Caves. The Lush Cave is actually a new cave biome which contains new vegetation features like azalea trees. They will mark the beginning of a lush cave in the overworld. Following its roots down, you will find a lush cave with even more plants like glowberries, which are these little yellow berries on the vines and are actually a new light and food source. Spore blossoms, which drip particles all around the area, similar to the particles added in the nether biome, and is actually a movable block so you can have the particles wherever you want. And drip leaf plants, which have some kind of lily pad on top of them, which you can hop onto, and standing too long on top of the plant causes it to kind of tilt down and drop you off, but after some time the plant will kind of repair itself and come back up. And we are still not finished, cause Lush Caves will even add another new mob. And guys, listen now and be as hyped as I am, since I really like this animal in real life. It's just too cute. The new mob in Lush Caves is the axolotl. Yes, you have heard right, they are gonna add a new fish to Minecraft. They said they wanted to add this fish specifically because the axolotl is an endangered animal, and as you might know, Mojang likes adding endangered animals into Minecraft, as they have done with bees and pandas to raise awareness. And if you think that this fish is gonna be like the other fishes in Minecraft, then you're wrong. This fish will interact with the player. Let me explain. If you find one of these axolotls, you can put them into a water bucket, pick it up and bring them to your ocean adventures. And they will actually fight with you. You can build your own army with these fishes, and they are pretty hard to kill for enemies, since if they take damage, they will kind of play dead, regen their health and then jump right back into the fight. And if you learn to cooperate with them really well, they might even heal you. So as you might have seen in the pictures, Lush Caves are this new type of mossy, grassy cave with this spiritual and calm aspect to it. Like, it looks really relaxing and it's just beautiful to look at. The next thing we have is the actual cave update as an improved cave generation and other new variation of caves. Caves will now come in more variety with new shapes and sizes. For example, they said they added something called local water level, which will lead into some caves having actual cave lakes and naturally generated waterfalls. You will actually be able to use boats in caves to move around quicker. They've also said that the cave shapes and sizes are independent from the new cave biomes, which means there will be even more variety. For example, Lush Caves can generate in really narrow caves, but also in these very big and tall caves, giving the Lush Cave a completely different atmosphere. But that's all they've said about the improved cave generation. I think we will just have to wait and see for ourselves. Another new cave biome is the Dripstone caves, which adds stalagmites and stalactites, and they have some new mechanics. For example, stalactites will have water drops dripping down from them, and you can actually put a cauldron under them to collect water, or that falling onto stalagmites will deal damage, as you can see here. The next thing we have is some updates on redstone in context with a new biome, and this is huge. They have shown something called sculk growth. And on these sculk blocks, there is the sculk sensor, which is the new redstone block. And what this block does is actually insane. If you place a block, destroy a block, or have footsteps near it, or literally anything that creates a sound, the sculk sensor will detect vibrations around it and emit a redstone signal. Along with this block, they added the mechanic to use wool and block vibrations from getting to the sculk sensor. As you can see right now, the sculk sensor and the piston are in an infinite loop. But if you have wool between the sensor and the piston, the wool will actually block the vibration emitted from the piston and the sensor won't put out another redstone signal. With this mechanic you can make directional SCUL sensors only receiving vibrations from one direction. And with the addition of SCUL sensors, we will actually have wireless redstone. You may ask where you can find these new blocks, and this is where the new biome and another new mob come into play. The new mob, called the WARDEN, will live in a new biome deep under the ground in a dark place and is actually blind. Instead of seeing, the WARDEN reacts to vibrations just like the SCUL sensor. This was the WARDEN, and as you could see, it had some type of this SCUL sensor on his head and reacted to only the sounds the player was making. Not only that, but it also dealt a ton of damage, and it's important to note that the player was wearing full netherite armor and still received 6.5 hearts damage with only a single hit. So I think it's fair to say that this mob is quite powerful and definitely directed at the endgame. And they have not talked about it, but down there in the clip there were actually candles, black and white ones, and it would be so cool if they really added them to Minecraft, because it would add so much more atmosphere. They have also shown 2 new resources that will be added to Minecraft. One of them will be crystals. They will be pretty rare, and just like spawners, they won't be movable, so if you want them, you need to build farms around where you find them. Farming these crystals gives crystal shards, which can be used to craft the telescope. I personally don't know how to feel about this, since I only play Java Edition and there we do have Optifine, but I think for Bedrock Edition players, this will be a new and exciting feature. The other resource that will be added and is necessary to craft the telescope too is copper. And with copper they added a pretty cool mechanic, cause if you place copper blocks they will first be orange, as copper is, but after a pretty long time those orange blocks will slowly but surely turn green. Another thing you can do with copper is craft a lightning rod, which you can put on top of your wood, wool or any roof to prevent lightnings to burn your house. Another thing they've announced are bundles. Now let me explain what bundles are and how they work, cause these things are insane. Bundles are some type of backpack which does not take an armor slot, but rather stays in your inventory, and these bundles don't directly increase inventory size, you can still only put 64 items into them, but the thing is, you can put 64 different items into them. If for example you have 4 types of wood, like 16 oak logs, 16 birch logs, 16 spruce logs and 16 acacia logs, which would take up 4 inventory slots. You can now put all of them into one bundle and have them only take up 1 inventory slot. In my opinion, this is an incredibly elegant solution to the inventory space problem. Another thing they're gonna add is an archaeology system. How it works is that you will find excavation sites all around your world and use a new tool called the brush to sort of brush off blocks like gravel and dirt layer by layer, and they've shown that there were diamond and emerald blocks hidden in the gravel layers and they can actually break if you're not careful enough with them. And they've also shown ceramic shards with little paintings on them, which you can put onto a clay pot, burn it, and then have your own clay pot with all of those little paintings. So we have talked a lot about the caves part of the update, but it's actually a caves and cliffs update. So what about the cliffs? Mojang will finally add the goats to Minecraft. As you can see, they jump very high and also even knock you off. They also changed the mountain generation to make it more height dependent, and if we have a close look at the screenshot from the Minecraft Live, we can see that the mountain is much higher than the clouds, and if you consider that the caves, with how big and tall they will become, may need more space too, that could lead to the conclusion that we will maybe get an increase in the height limit. In the screenshot you can also see that the mountain is very snowy, like there are whole snow blocks just being there, and they've also added another block called powder snow, which will look similar to snow, but mobs and players will fall through when they step on it. Unfortunately, that's all they've said about the much anticipated Caves and Cliffs update. Don't forget to subscribe and like for more videos about everything happening in Minecraft, and see you next time.